The Diocese of Springfield will officially receive its first-class relic of St. John Paul II. Last year, I had the honor to travel to his hometown in Poland to see firsthand the roots of this great spiritual giant.
St. John Paul II is an inspiration to me, first of all, because I am 100% Polish. I grew up in a three-generation household where my dziadek, my grandfather, was very, very religious. So when St. John Paul became the first Polish pope, it was an incredibly wonderful, happy event.
St. John Paul II was canonized on April 27th of last year in Rome, witnessed by 1 million pilgrims in St. Peter's Square. But before he was a saint, before he was even a pope, cardinal, or priest, he was simply Karol Wojtyła. Born in Wadowice, a small city of about 20,000, some 30 miles southwest of Krakow. Wadowice has gotten international recognition as the birthplace of St. John Paul II. Catholic Communications pilgrims walked in the childhood footsteps of this beloved saint as they visited the home he was born in and the church in which he was baptized. This was the same church in which young Karol served as an altar boy and made his first communion. His boyhood home next door has been turned into a museum, as has the square in the center of town. Everywhere one looks, there are reminders, statues of our Karol Wojtyła, as the Poles like to refer to St. John Paul II. The newly renovated and expanded museum contains many family treasures of those simpler days. Family pictures, his first scapular, his sneakers and his skis, his mother's handbag and her sewing machine. The simple rooms, a dining room, kitchen, and bathroom are preserved exactly as they were in the 1920s. From an early age, Karol Wojtyła faced hardships that tested his trust in God. His mother died when he was 9, and 3 years later he lost his only brother, a doctor, to scarlet fever. His father died when he was 20, and friends said he knelt for 12 hours in prayer and sorrow at his bedside.
St. John Paul was a man that most of us experienced through our lives. We watched him be elected to the papacy. He chose the name John Paul II. He was a great inspiration, a role model for all of us. He taught us what our faith was an inspiration for all of us.
One of the truly remarkable and inspirational times in John Paul II's life was the assassination attempt on his life. On May 13, 1981, Mehmet Ali Aga, a Turkish assassin, aimed this Browning HP 9mm at the Pope in St. Peter's Square. A bullet injured him in the abdomen. He survived the attempt on his life and immediately forgave the assassin. "I pray for my brother who delivered the blow to me, and I truly forgive him," he said. The relic set to come to the Diocese of Springfield is an actual piece of the blood-stained robe worn by the Pope on that day. It is this total faith in God's love and forgiveness that eventually led to the Pope's elevation to sainthood. To his last days, the late Holy Father remembered fondly his Wadowice youth and places associated with it. Also, he tried to include the town when possible in his visits to Poland. The last time John Paul II was in Wadowice was in 1999, meeting with some 200,000 young people after Mass in the square. He fondly recalled the days of his youth to them. Racing out of the schoolyard, he and his friends would challenge each other to see how many cream cakes they could eat from the local bakery. This story has become very popular for the shop owners here in Wadowice, as everywhere you look in every restaurant, you can find kremówka papieska, the Pope's cream puff. Smaczne. Yes, sweet memories of a man who was and still is so beloved by the people of his native Poland.
St. John Paul II was the greatest man of my young life so far, just with how big his heart is and his passion for the church and his passion for helping people. It sets a good example for me on how I should live my life, and I chose him as my confirmation name because of those reasons, because of how great he was, how great his heart was, and his passion for the church. And he's just a really good role model for young people like myself to try and reach for.